Yes.
Okay. So, welcome everyone. My name is Ajit Mishra. I am representing CCLS, part of Queen Mary, India chapter. And today we have got Arijit Prasad. He is one of the eminent lawyers in India, senior counsel, who graduated from LSC and started his career in litigation at a very early age. He became senior counsel, and he is one of the youngest senior counsel in India. And today we are going to explore his journey as a lawyer and what inspired him to be a lawyer. With me, we have got few committee members of CCLS. Zafar Khurshid, he will be joining me on the panel. Ravisha, Kishan, Ojaswita, and few others who are not on the screen. So we are starting our Q&A session with Arijit with a very warm welcome. Arijit.
Hi, lovely to be here. It gives me immense pleasure to be amongst a group of highly intellectual lawyers. I have been to the campus of Queen Mary, Milan. So I'm very familiar with Queen Mary. I mean, the year I was at LSC, LSC did not have an international arbitration professor. So we were given an option to go and study under Professor Julian Liu. So we opted for international arbitration. We went to the Milan Center, and we had a great time studying under Professor Julian Liu, who at that point in time was the head of arbitration at Herbert Smith, and he was ably assisted by Mr. Lucas Mistelis. I am now told that he himself is a very eminent professor of international arbitration. So we have a lot of commonality. Studied in London, studied at Queen Mary, and went to the Milan Center where international arbitration was being taught. And I have a special affinity for international arbitration. I was one of, I think, many during those days who enjoyed Professor Julian Liu's classes, and had scored pretty well. I think almost close to distinction, if I remember correctly. It's been a long time though now.
Well, I saw your profile, and you passed out with merit from LSC.
I passed out from merit with LSC, from LSC.
So that takes me to the first question.
Yeah.
Why at all you became a lawyer? What inspired you to be a lawyer?
It's a very, very, very long question. I mean, I always wanted to be a lawyer because, I mean, when I was growing up, my dad is a lawyer by profession. So I had the opportunity of looking up how he prepared himself for his cases, how he went and argued matters. So I was kind of influenced by how a lawyer's life was, how a lawyer lived, how matters were being argued in court. And also, I mean, when I was growing up, I read a lot about the lawyers of this country who were part of the freedom struggle. And I saw the lawyer, in addition to working for himself, is also able to make some difference in society. So in addition to being working for yourself, you work for the society, make a difference. So that is something which I mean, influenced me when I was very young. It got ingrained that you do work for yourself as well as for the society and make a difference. Give back to the society. The society gives you so much when you are growing up, when you are working. Just the twin abilities of working for yourself and making a difference in society kind of influenced me to become a lawyer.
Well, exactly. So as a lawyer, we have got responsibility towards society as well, and make sure that not only it's not only a profession where you make money, but at the same time, there's a social aspect to it.
Absolutely.
But what intrigued me was that when you started in this profession and around the time when you graduated, there were new areas of practice which were coming up. Corporate law was quite fashionable. IP was one of the, what should I say, very fashionable area of practice at that point, upcoming cyber law. But you chose to be a litigator, which is very old-fashioned. And in my committee, we have got a lot of litigators, and I can see all of them are smiling. But why litigation?
See, when I was growing up and I wanted to become a lawyer, I always thought I'll be a litigator, because litigator is somebody who goes to court, takes up issues of social importance, makes a difference in life of the society and the people who are downtrodden, people who are underprivileged. But yes, at one point in time, I also wavered and I wanted to become a corporate lawyer. And it so happened, joined and spent some time in one of the firms here in Delhi, Amarchand. I took up the subjects which all lawyers who want to become good corporate lawyers take up. And I did corporate and commercial laws, international arbitration, international taxation. And I had intellectual property rights, and I had say interest in securities, all the subjects which make you a good corporate lawyer. But it happened that after coming back to India, after finishing my LLM, I happened to visit a old friend of my dad. So he is also very well known, and he was the law minister at that point in time. He said, "What do you want to do now that you've come back?" So I said, I have done these subjects, and I spent some time in this corporate firm before going to England for my LLM. So he said, okay, you want to work in a corporate firm, you can work in a corporate firm, but why don't you try doing litigation in the Supreme Court? I said, okay. So he was kind enough to put me in the government panel, which does litigation for the government in Supreme Court. And I started doing matters. I enjoyed what I was doing, and appearing before the courts gave me satisfaction. And thereafter, I didn't look back and never thought about joining corporate law. Litigation was enjoying, satisfying. I saw the top lawyers, how they argued their matters, how they made a difference in the society, as well as how they have been looked upon by everyone. So that's how I, corporate law, what I was at one point in time thinking about, became a litigator, and I continued as a litigator.
Well, in a way, you're living my dream. I wanted to be a litigator, but I always found it a very hard profession to be in. Okay.
It's a very hard profession. It's a very hard profession. It's a very hard profession.
So I took a software role, which is corporate, and now realize it's not software as such. But you mentioned that you had a very good advice from former law minister.
Yes, he was very kind. He was very kind.
When you return back to country. And that's, again, there are two things which comes out from that. One is why you went to the UK, of course, to do your master's from LSE, which is one of the premier institutions. But what motivated you to go and do LLM? Second, why you came back?
So, Abid, when I did my LLM, I always had this intention of coming back to my country. As I said, I mean, I saw and I read in the history books all the people who made a difference in the society, made a difference to our country, who were part of the freedom struggle. They all went to England for their, law studies. They all had, good influence from the liberties, ideas of liberty, democracy, and all those specialized subject, specialized knowledge. Those were one part, and the second was, the international courses which are offered by these universities, the structured knowledge which is imparted, was something which I thought would benefit me to grow as a lawyer, to grow in the profession. So that was one of the main reasons why I preferred and I thought about going to England. I mean, even though I had admissions in the US in a couple of Ivy League schools, But since my intention was always to come back to India after completion of my LLM, so I preferred to go to England. And LSE was one of those premier institutions which people always looked up to. And I considered myself privileged and lucky that I got an admission in that premier institution, and I was able to successfully complete my LLM.
And did that help being in UK, doing LLM at one of the premier institutions like Queen Mary? Okay, you were LSE.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
So did that help?
when you go to a place like LSE, Queen Mary, I mean, when you are in London, I mean, you get to meet, interact, and exchange ideas with students coming from all over the world. And students who come to England for studying are one of the best of the brains available in those countries as well. So this interaction, this exchange of ideas, kind of opens up your mind. It makes it more receptive to everything that you are studying. So even though studying is only one part, what you do when you do go for your LLM, but the interaction, the exchange of ideas kind of helps you to improve and change your personality. It makes you an international person per se. So, I mean, I had a great time. We worked very hard. We did our studies. We read our case files. And one thing which we did was we always used to participate in the debates. Because, I mean, in UK, as you know, it's more of an interactive study. So if you have read your files, if you've read your cases, you've read the study material, that's only the point in time when you can interact and exchange ideas with the professor. So that kind of helped us quite a bit. I mean, we always read our files, always finished our case material, whatever was given to us, and that helped us quite a bit. I mean, we work very hard. And unlike a lot of people who work hard and party harder, so we were the ones who worked very hard. And even in the weekends, we worked hard.
Okay. And party is still to come.
Party is still to come.
Okay.
we thought, you know, we will postpone our party time once we grow up in the profession. So we are still trying to grow in the profession. So party time is yet to come.
Well, I will say do it as soon as possible. It's very enjoyable.
Absolutely.
So before you started your LLM, did you spend time in profession, or you straight away after your LLB, you went to the UK to do your master's?
I spent some time in the profession. I was told that if you are in the profession for a while before you go for your master's, you are able to assimilate, understand what is being taught, and you are able to appreciate things and law in a better fashion. And I still feel that, you know, anybody who wants to go for his LLM must at least spend a year or two in the profession to know what he wants to do, what are the courses that he wants to pursue, and how law is appreciated. Because ultimately what we do is all interpretation of law. I mean, it has multiple views of one particular provision. So, I mean, one can look at it from one aspect, the other person can look from the other. So I believe, I think in some work experience is always good.
It's always good to have a kind of practical experience, and then you can choose your area of interest and future practice. One thing which always, whenever I'm talking to those who are doing LLM and they went back to India, since Indian laws are quite dynamic and they are changing so drastically and so fast for good, most of the time I saw that 1 year gap is very long. When you're doing your master's, 1 year gap is too long to catch up, and it takes some time to catch up with what happened during last 12 months when you were doing your LLM. So was that a difficulty for you? And especially in litigation, I think things are changing much more faster. So catching up was a difficulty for you, or it was
so I would say when you are going for your masters after your LLB, you become a new lawyer, a young lawyer. Because of the fact that once you come back, you will work for the rest of your life. So your LLM, your further studies, the interactions, you're opening up your mind. kind of creates a foundation and an infrastructure for you to grow. So I believe, and I would still suggest, people who want to go for the LLM that they must and they should go for the LLM, because whatever catching up you need to do, you have a different file coming to you every day. So when you prepare for your file, when you prepare and do your research, you will get to know what happened in the last year, what happened in the last few years, what happened last week, what and how the law originated, and what was the viewpoints of the judges over a point in time. So I don't feel that anything you would miss. The year is just flies away. So I've spent now almost like 23 years in the profession, and I still feel I'm still a very young lawyer, and I just came back from England the other day. So that 1 year gap, I don't think is much of a difference at all. Doesn't make much of a difference.
So those who are scared about it, that catching up will be a difficulty, they should not be worried about it.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. The kind of exposure that you get for your LLM, I mean, that offsets everything else. It makes you a different person altogether. So one shouldn't be worried about.
Now, when you came back, so you became senior counsel at a very young age. And I became partner at a very young age, okay? To an extent, when I look back, I think that I should not have been partner at a very young age, okay? Because things which I can see now, I could have achieved just because having that position and being ignorant about it, I think I could have done slightly better, but no regrets about it. It's always very good to have a senior position. So you became senior counsel at very early age. First thing, what were the struggles? Okay, it's not easy. It's not easy. Where our legal profession in India, it's heavily dominated by litigators. Okay, it's not easy to be in that top counsels. So you were designated as senior counsel, but at the same time, that entire journey, was it difficult? And how it feels to be a youngest senior counsel?
It was very difficult. I never imagined that, that I would become a counsel by this particular age, because when we started the litigation profession, I mean, people who were designated as seniors by Supreme Court was in the age group of 55 plus. So we could never think that that we will become seniors at this. But it was just God's grace, hard work, and right time at the right place. So I did a lot of government work. So when you do a lot of government work, you have a lot of appearances in court. And when you have a lot of appearances in court, you have a lot of reported judgments. And when you have reported judgments, then those are something which is looked at by the judges when you are designated. I was, and our group of young lawyers who got designated was helped because of this judgment which came from court, which gave parameters on the basis of which marking was done. We had to face an interview board of 3 topmost Supreme Court judges, the Chief Justice, Judge number 1, that's 2, and the Attorney General, and a jurist. So we had to face the interview board. We were, kind of interviewed, and marks were given. And marks were also given on the articles that you've written, the conferences that you've attended where you've spoken. Marks were given for the reported judgments that you have had. And I was lucky that after doing a lot of work for the government, I had a lot of reported judgments. So God was kind. I was successful in this endeavor.
Well,
ultimately, hard work pays. Ultimately, hard work pays.
No, of course, there's no substitute for hard work. Hard work is something which will take you to places. And when I was looking at your profile, that was very impressive that you have got around 400 reported judgments.
God was kind. I got a chance to do a lot of government work, as I said. So, and I was working in the field of taxation, direct, indirect tax both. And there are not a lot of people who do tax matters. And we were doing tax matters in Supreme Court at the time when all the judges who did tax matters were the senior judges. So it's always an advantage that, the senior judges are there before whom you are appearing every day. So they know, I mean, the people who are working hard, the people who know the subject, and people who are sincere. So it's the judgments that you get, the reported judgments. Ultimately, it's a body of work that you have done over a period of time, which speaks and is taken into consideration when one is designated. So yes, what was time we got guidance, did a lot of government matters. I assisted Mr. Ghulam Bahanwati when he was the Solicitor General for 5 years, as well as an Attorney General. Then I also got a chance to work with Mr. Mukul Rohgi when he was the Attorney General for years, assisted him in tax matters. So yes, I got a chance to work with top lawyers, and when you get a chance to work with them, brief them, you kind of your skills get sharpened and you become a better lawyer. So yes, I had very good guidance from all the law officers who I worked at that particular point in time. And tax being a subject which is very, not too many people venture into it, even though it's a very easy area of work. It's always interpretation involved. So therefore, kind of helps you to become a lawyer with better skills set than your peers. Right, that kind of help.
Yeah, I have been told that tax practice is quite profitable as well.
Profitable.
I might be wrong.
Ajit, this might be a
When you're working on your brief, you don't think about the profitability. It's your sincerity, it's hard work. I mean, you're preparing yourself to face the judge the next day. So you are only looking at your brief.
That's a joke. Zafar wants to say something.
yeah, no, I think this might be a great time. We've got actually already got quite a few questions from the many people who are attending. So I think this might be a good time. We'll switch over to a few audience Q&As, if that's okay. Other panelists. So first question we have, it's from Ankit Jaglan. So we sort of covered this, but maybe you want to weigh in a little bit more. He's asked, was it difficult for you to start over in litigation after sort of studying and focusing on corporate law? And what advice would you give first generation lawyers who are pursuing an LLM from the UK who do want to come back home eventually to pursue litigation?
Litigation landscape has changed quite a bit since the time we came back and now. Anybody and everybody, who is willing to work hard with sincerity. That's a hallmark. Willing to work hard with sincerity, there is always space for them. Ultimately, people want their matters to be argued thoroughly. They want the person who's arguing the matter to be thorough with their briefs, thorough with the law. So anybody who wishes to work hard, anybody who wishes to work with sincerity, there is always space for them. And success also is, dependent upon your hard work and sincerity. Ultimately, that's the two important. Your reliability, and I would say one should not worry. There's a huge space for everyone.
Great. Okay, so the next question we have is from Nishant Anshul. I think this is an interesting one, actually. I wonder about this sometimes myself. Do you see tribunals in India becoming the launch pads for commercial litigation practice? Or do you think that conventional court practice is still advisable for young lawyers as a starting point?
I would always say, the conventional way of doing litigation is always you need to have a fine balance. By the time you get a chance to argue matters in higher courts, the High Court or the maybe Supreme Court, it takes a while for you to get those chances. But you can start arguing matters in the tribunals at a little earlier age, because the stage of the litigation or stage of the case, there are appeals available in higher courts. So therefore, younger lawyers get a chance to argue tribunals far earlier. But you need to have a good mix of both experience in the tribunals as well as in the courts, the High Court. So it should be a good mix. One should not kind of park themselves in tribunals, because once a particular person goes to a particular tribunal, he gets a lot of matters and he kind of gets bogged down in that particular forum. That's good for the pocket, but for your growth, for succeed, for people to know you throughout, I think one must definitely come to the.
Okay. Yeah, this next question is actually mostly from me. As someone who is quite open about the fact that eventually they are chasing the gown, as we like to say.
Yes.
Do you think that it is something that young lawyers should think about, from early on in their practice, or it's something that they shouldn't chase, but they should wait for the right time when they're really ready and only then start chasing it? Or is it something that you have to prepare for long in advance?
No, I would say, you did not chase. You could always have it in the back of your mind that you want the gown someday. That's a natural progression, natural aspiration, which everyone has. So far as Zafar is concerned, I will say that, again, it goes back to the same question of not parking yourself in tribunals for too long. Because, the way a matter is argued in the tribunal, the matter is argued in the high court, and the matter is argued in the Supreme Court, huge difference. If you see people who have primarily and ordinarily practiced in the high courts, for them, when they come to Supreme Court, it's an entirely different ballgame. The lawyers who have started and continue to start in the high courts are more factual in nature. They would give a background so far as the facts is concerned. But lawyers who have started in the Supreme Court in a miscellaneous day when the matter is in appeal under 136, you would just argue your final legal point. Basically show how the High Court order is not correct. What is the mistake in the High Court order? So therefore, it's a very different ball game altogether. Very different ball game altogether. Therefore, you need to have a good mix of being in the High Court, the tribunals, the Supreme Court. So you need to be everywhere. So you have to wait. You have to wait because young lawyers who come from England, or young lawyers who come from the US, or maybe somebody who stopped his examinations in India, they would probably feel, I am so good, or I have got this kind of marks and I can get a gown earlier, or maybe I can argue matters. But ultimately in the legal profession, it is the experience which makes a difference. With your hard work, maybe you can reduce where you are to where you want to be by a couple of years here and there, but ultimately your journey, you have to go through it. You have to burn your midnight oil, you have to work hard, days and years together.
So it's certainly a takeaway that a jack of all trades, a master of none, but better than just a master of one.
I would say master of one, and being master of all the subjects that you have studied and done, both has advantages.
Okay.
Advantages.
Ojaswita, I think, has a hand up. Ojaswita, you'd like to step into the question? Please.
Yes, I hope you can hear me all right.
Yep.
Good evening, Mr. Prasad. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much. It's our pleasure and our honor to have you here. Thank you for taking out the time. It's been very insightful listening to you. So I am an in-house counsel. I'm a general counsel with a company. And as an LLM graduate, in an in-house role, I see a lot of benefit in the long term to have an LLM from London, who have a perception that it is not as useful to have.
I would say it's always useful to have more knowledge, structured knowledge.
Can you hear?
Yes. I think even if you are in-house, ultimately you are the one who is, dealing with the counsels. You kind of look up what is happening in the courts, how the documentation is being made. So even if you are an in-house counsel, I think your role is as important. So I don't see, or I would not say that in a lawyer who is an in-house counsel, his role is in any manner uh, subordinate to the counsels who come to court or the lawyers who work in firms or the people who are. So
completely agree on that, but I think I couldn't convey my question very clearly.
yes,
What I was
Please.
trying to ask is having an LLM from London or from a foreign university just as useful if you are in private practice, if you are in litigation, or is practical experience in court more useful? Because that is a huge debate that goes on, that, especially in litigation and practice, what matters more is your experience in court rather than getting an LLM. Given that you have done an LLM from abroad, what do you feel? What is your perception?
See, I would always, tell young lawyers that having an LLM is always good. Because when you go to the West, when you go to these institutions, I mean, the kind of knowledge which is imparted is in a very structured manner. You are taught by professionals who are top of their professions. I mean, we had professors who had the good fortune of being partners in top 5 magic firms, whether it's you or the other professors in other subjects. So when you interact with them, when you read your books, when you read your case files, and you have an interaction with them, answer them, ask them questions. So that kind of change your personality. So whether you are in-house counsel or where you are doing litigation, doesn't make any difference. But so far as when you are working in a firm or maybe an in-house counsel, you get a tangible benefit that you have a requirement of an LLM from XYZ top institution. But when you are a litigator, when you're doing litigation, you get an intangible benefit of your personality having improved, changed, and your ability to understand the law and interpret in a manner which probably somebody who may not have had the privilege of getting that specialized knowledge or interaction or debating in class would have. So I would always encourage people to go. I would still suggest an LLM. One has the time and the ability, one must.
Thank you so much.
Whether one wants to go to a firm or become an in-house counsel or litigate.
Thank you.
All right, our next question is from Jenny Augustine, who says that what was it like? Do you remember your first experience dealing with a tax matter? And the second part of this question, I'll relate to a little bit because I had to do quite a lot of tax matters when I was under the additional Solicitor General, Mr. Gaurav Banerjee in the Supreme Court. Does that first experience with tax matters, did it make you want to deviate from practicing tax matters?
So I still remember the first tax matter which I argued in court, in Supreme Court, was before Justice Kapadia. Kapadia was a very knowledgeable judge. A lot of tax matters in his previous avatars as High Court judge, as a lawyer. So he was somebody who knew his tax very well. So I mean, we got the privilege of appearing in his court, and because of his in-depth knowledge in taxation, whenever we prepared a matter, we had to prepare it from all angles because he would ask you a question. So it kind of helped. It helped us to become better lawyers. It helped us to prepare our briefs sincerely and with depth and from all angles. So it was a good experience. I mean, in fact, the first matter which I argued was a government matter again. And the law officer who was marked the matter was not available. And the senior counsel who was marked the matter was not available. They were in 2 different courts. So I just went to, seek an adjournment. And Justice Kapadia said, young man, have you read your file? The seniors are not there. You want to become an arguing counsel? You want to become an arguing counsel? You need to argue your matters. So I told him I have read my file, and that's how I started. And he was kind to pass an order in my favor as well. And that's how the starting happened. And thereafter, I mean, whatever matters came my way, I was always prepared so that, I get a chance to argue if the law officers were not there. And by the time his tenure as a judge of the Supreme Court ended as a Chief Justice, even at times when we were there in his court waiting for our matters, he would just ask us, Mr. Prasad, what was the judgment which had passed this particular point? So we had to be in our toes. So and kind of the confidence which he imposed on us, the faith that he had on us. So it inculcated a feeling of sensibility, responsibility, and we read everything and anything, all judgments that were passed by him thoroughly, so that we didn't know at what point in time what kind of a question would fall for him, even if we are not there in that matter. So all these factors kind of helped us to become what we have become now.
I think that's both the dream and the nightmare of every young counsel, that experience you described.
Absolutely, you have put it very well. It's a dream as well as nightmare. Recognized by the Chief Justice and the judge of his caliber and reputation, and to be able to answer him and able to tell him which is the judgment or which is the point that was or which is the notification that he was asking for. God was kind that we were able to rise up to.
I think that it's certainly very humble how much credit you give to God, but I think that God only gave you the opportunity. It's obviously your preparedness to pounce on the opportunity when it came.
That's one thing I must share with all my young lawyers who are here today. I mean, opportunities don't come every day, and when it comes, you should be able to perform. So read your files thoroughly. That's something which is very important. Anybody wants.
Ajit, if we can throw it back to you at this point.
Well, yeah, I was listening to all that, and I was also looking at Ravisha. She's the litigator. She might be having few questions. And how many times you get opportunity to talk to Arijit in a relaxed atmosphere? Do you have anything?
Thank you, Ajit. I just wanted to, adding to the earlier discussion that we were having about, tribunals and the traditional court practice. What is your advice regarding the practice area? Like, I mean, I am doing all kinds of litigation, including criminal and civil, but just for everyone's benefit, would you prefer restricting yourself to certain areas of law, or would it be like, whatever brief comes?
I would say whatever comes your way. Every brief is a learning experience. Every brief gives you the experience of arguing matters. Doesn't make a difference whether you are arguing a matter before the Supreme Court, High Court, or the tribunal. So I mean, standing before a particular judge, arguing a matter, thinking on your feet, it should come naturally to you, and it becomes naturally to you only slowly when you have spent time standing there. Briefing a counsel, briefing a senior is very different from arguing a matter. When you are facing the questions, when you are facing the scrutiny of your matter. So it's just like an examination, the way you would prepare for your matter, the way you prepare for your exam, you prepare for your matter. So you need to be thorough. And this comes with experience. I mean, gradually you will move from the tribunal, the High Court, to Supreme Court. So the hallmark is to be there. You need to be natural. That naturality of arguing matters comes only when you are practicing. That's why reason it's called practice, standing, as they call it.
That's true. Thank you. Ajit, back to you.
Yeah. So from the perspective, I'm based in London and I work in India, and extensively, I should say. Now, from overseas, I understand there's a caseload. Judges already, they are overloaded with cases. It's not easy to handle, but still, in spite of all of their phenomenal job. Okay, but if you get an opportunity to change something, okay, what you're going to change in the judicial system?
I mean, access to justice, which is very important. In addition to access to justice, justice should be given to you whatever you are seeking the relief at the shortest possible time. Dependency of matters in the tribunals, the High Court, the Supreme Court, is something to think about. And in addition to that, access to justice is also very important. I mean, the last man standing somewhere in some remote village, he should have equal access to justice as somebody who's, a top corporate owner, somebody who's rich. Therefore, there should not be any difference between a rich man and a poor man. To have the best possible legal assistance. That's something which is very important. And I hope someday we are able to achieve that as well. So justice for all, in addition to speedy justice, which is facing huge dependency in all courts.
Now, of course, and judicial system should be more inclusive for everyone and easy for anyone to have. What's happening in arbitration sector? There are a lot of changes which are happening, and arbitration process is becoming slightly more reliable. It was always reliable, and India is seen as a hub for international arbitration. So, do you have any thought on that one?
Singapore, or England, Paris, London have all grown as big arbitration centers. The government of India is also trying to create the infrastructure and the laws. Amendments have been brought in lately in the Arbitration Act to make arbitration more reliable, arbitration faster, and creating infrastructure for arbitration to develop in our country. And I'm sure with all these amendments being brought in law, amendments brought in the fee structure of arbitrators, so far as domestic arbitration is concerned, and with the opening up of arbitration centers in Hyderabad and in Delhi, I'm sure arbitration would develop in a big way. It's already developing in a very fast manner, and it would even develop fast.
Well, so somebody stop me, I will keep on asking questions. Okay. So, Kishan, do you have anything to ask?
No, Ajit, I'm good. You have list of all the questions which we have received from all the participants in advance, actually. So you have the privilege.
I think so. Ojaswita has another question. We can jump over to her.
Yes, since we have the opportunity of having Mr. Prasad here, I think we should not miss it. And Ajit kind of touched on that question, but I would love to ask you, with more than 2 decades of seeing how the entire legal system and judiciary has developed, what are your aspirations for the Indian judicial system over the next 5 to 10 years?
The Indian judicial system is already regarded as one of the best in the world. And Indian judiciary, the judgments which are being rendered are being referred to in various countries. At present, we have the Chief Justice who was at Harvard. And earlier also, the Chief Justice that we have had are all brilliant minds. So our judiciary is next to none. So I'm sure Indian judiciary would be looked up to. The judgments would be referred to the way it has been done in the past, in the future as well. So I think Indian judiciary is doing a very good job, and will continue to do so in the future. And Indian judiciary has been, if you look at the judgments, I mean, as far as commercial arbitration is concerned, international arbitration is concerned, all the judgments are very progressive, which are all geared towards promoting international arbitration and kind of bringing in some kind of finality to the international arbitrations that we have seen the awards that have been passed.
So, Arjit, it's about you. My last one, the last one. What is in 5 years? Now you are senior counsel. Okay, 5 years. What's your progression? What you aspire to? Your profession.
When you are a senior counsel, you want you to be known as somebody who's sincere with his brief, somebody who's reliable, somebody who walks what he talks, and consolidation of your position in the courts. Known as somebody who's a good lawyer, who's a good human being as well, and somebody who also thinks about what's happening in the society, what's happening all around the world, and tries to do something which is beneficial for everyone, in addition to fighting your cases for your clients.
Very clever. Thank you so much. So,
Thank you.
Zafar, do we have any other questions from our...
No, I think we've mostly covered all of the questions. We do have we have two participants who've raised their hands. I don't know, can we maybe allow one of them to, if we can ask them to put their questions in the Q&A or in the chat box, that would be great. Okay, we will manage to allow one of them to talk so he can ask himself. Sachin, please.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, a very good evening to Mr. Ajit Prasad, sir.
Good evening, Sachin.
Sir, I just graduated from National Law University, Punjab in BLLB honors this year. And thank you. And now I'm pursuing my master's in law from Queen Mary University of London. I came on the government scholarship.
That's
so
great.
Even now I have done various internships under the very reputed senior advocates like Mr. Vikas Singh and Pinky Anand. So I have developed a passion towards the litigation, and I have seen the life of a advocate, how the hectic life they are, and I'm really interested in doing and following the litigation. So is there any advice which you like to give me, because even I want to make my career in the litigation?
I would say that you must be willing to work hard day in and day out with sincerity. I mean, working hard with sincerity 24/7 for many years to come is very essential and important if you want to succeed as a litigating lawyer. So my advice to all young lawyers is working sincerity, ability to put in hard work for days together. I mean, there could be a brief which comes to you, draft a matter which is so important that you need to do it and file it the next morning. So you should do it with a smile. If you're willing to do that, please come into litigation.
Yes.
Also, Sachin, you're part of CCLS India chapter. Still, within our group, we have got a lot of litigators and some of the brightest ones as well. And there are few who are sharing this screen today. Okay, so make use of the resources. If you have questions, be part of our. I don't know that you're part of the CCLS India chapter group or not. In case you're not,
yes, I am.
Yeah. So if you have any doubts, concern, any questions, feel free to post there. Always there's someone who can handhold you, who can give you a good advice as well.
And I'm in court always every day from 10 to 4 o'clock. We have matters every day. So feel free to have a cup of coffee with me anytime you are available.
Yeah, definitely, sir.
All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sachin.
Although, Arijit, I will just add, as someone who has had the pleasure of doing that drafted overnight and get it filed by the morning, the smile only comes when that draft is in.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of people who work with seniors or work in firms, kind of think that you're working for somebody else. Ultimately, when you're in the legal profession, you're working for yourself. The more number of briefs that you draft, the more number of matters that you argue. And, as much as you work, the harder you work, ultimately you are doing it for yourself. So if that's the bottom line, if somebody remembers, any brief comes to him, he'll do it with a smile. That's something which I think everyone should inculcate in himself.
I think I agree with Zafar. When you see the fruits of your work, that is when the smile comes, actually.
Absolutely.
We have
Himakshi. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Very good evening, sir. I'm Himakshi Alaria, and I am also here in Queen Mary University of London on a government scholarship. It was an academic excellence scholarship, and I landed onto that scholarship and ended up getting into QMUL criminal justice course. Before that, I have practiced before the Rajasthan High Court for 3 years, and we have handled a few matters that were PILs. I was only arguing those PILs because I had filed them. Now, I also have a hypothesis of certain matters that we are looking forward to filing before the Honorable Supreme Court. But since now that I'm not eligible to be filing them as an advocate on record or a senior advocate for that matter, do you think it will be a productive idea if I proceed ahead as party in person for the same?
See, I mean, in Supreme Court, to file matters, only advocate and records can file matters. And otherwise, the PILs, even a letter to the Chief Justice, could turn into a PIL.
Okay.
So, if you want to file it yourself, PIL, you'll have to engage a AOR. You have to write a letter to the Chief Justice or the Registry of the Supreme Court, giving the issue on which you are aggrieved or the issue that you feel needs to be taken up by the court. So you could go ahead by either way.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
And one can become an AOR after having put in 4 years of practice. You already put in 3. So you put in another year of practice, and thereafter you need to do a training with an AOR, and then you become an AOR. In the
But sir,
meantime,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir, but I wasn't practicing under an AOR, but I was practicing
doesn't make a
under.
difference. Doesn't make a difference. After 4 years of practice, you need to put only a year with an AOR, and you need to get yourself registered with the Registry of the Supreme Court. You start your training, and thereafter you give your exams.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Well, from the theoretical right down to the practical, we've really tried our best to put you through the ringer, and I think that you've done
Oh, absolutely.
exemplary job.
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. Absolutely a pleasure.
Yeah, Ajit, if I could just ask you to do the vote of thanks, and then we'll allow Mr. Prasad not to let us take up too much more of his time, because I fear that if we as much as we take, he'll be willing to give.
Absolutely, and it was lovely. It was a great Q&A session. It was just like meeting old friends and answering their queries. Get to meet Ajit whenever he is in Delhi. So we get to meet him again when he is in Delhi next time around. We get to meet Zafar every other day in court, and hopefully the rest of you we get to meet soon as well. It's always a pleasure meeting people who have put in so much of effort, put in so much of knowledge. Exchange of ideas is always appreciated.
Well, thank you so much, Ajit. Really appreciate the time.
Thank you.
It's encouraging not only for us, but our members, especially for young lawyers. Here's from somebody like yourself who has got so much experience and did really well in his career. So all the very best for future.
Thank you very much.
Sometime very soon, either in London or in India. But only request is that keep in touch. CCLS is a very good platform. And we have worked very hard to make it a success, and which eventually it is a success. So keep in touch and look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you very much. And everyone who's here, please feel free to get in touch with me whenever you're in court and otherwise as well. Lovely meeting you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Before we finish off, just a reminder to, of course, all of our participants, and please do share it with your colleagues. Please do join the CCLS India chapter on LinkedIn. We will continue to host events such as this with eminent and wonderful, warm speakers such as Arijit, but which is a difficult task to try and match. But we will do our best for the next one as well. And hopefully, who knows, we may even persuade Arijit to come back again sometime soon in the future. So,
Lovely.
so thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Ajit. Ajit and Krishan constantly for keeping us on task to make sure that these things keep happening regularly. And yes, on behalf of everyone, we'll see all of our participants next time. Please do join the group, and everybody keep in touch.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Well, see you.